In this video, we're going to look at my top 3 tips for amazing cold sales. Hi, my name is Matt Elwell of the Elite Closing Academy, and in this video, we're going to look at 3 key areas so that you can increase your cold sales. If this is your first time here, make sure you press the subscribe button and the notification bell. During this next video, I'm going to give you the 5 steps to the perfect cold call to help you increase your sales massively. So the 5 things that you need towards the perfect cold call, I'm going to put them on this board. Before I do, I want to make something really clear. Cold calling doesn't work for every business, okay? That's a fact. There are some businesses where it just doesn't really work. However, there are hundreds of thousands of businesses that it works for. My advice is to test it. And here's the reason why. When you master cold calling, you're going to give yourself a huge advantage over your competitors. Nobody else likes cold calling. No one's very good at it. When you can do it well, powerfully, I promise you the impact it has on your pipeline, filling up your pipeline with people who want and need you, is massive. So before we go into the 5 bits or the 5 key points that you've got to have for the perfect call, remember a couple of key things. It's important to target a sector that you know needs cold calling, that will respond to cold calling, and more importantly, where your perfect prospects are. A fisherman doesn't throw his net on the sand. He throws his net where the shoals of fish are according to the radar. So target industries, target businesses that need what you do. It's really important. And the second thing is, when you're cold calling, just remember that a little win, such as just finding out the person's name, the person who's got the money, the person who's got the authority, the person who's got the need, just finding that out is a win and enables you to organically grow your community. So point number 1 for the perfect cold call is you must state your purpose. Some people don't like to use the word purpose, so your intention, I think, is another great word. So the purpose of my call today is, and it takes you straight into an absolute critical point, and this is to make, and I'm going to put the word huge in capital letters, a huge statement. My huge statement is as follows: my sales training increases sales overall of 64%. That's a huge statement. So you start with the purpose of today's call is to tell you, and then you go straight to huge statement. My sales training increases sales overall by 64%. That's a huge statement. Number 3 is to position your price. A lot of people have, when I say a lot of people, in my experience, 9 out of 10 people in sales have a huge problem with their price. It's like a pandemic. So by positioning your price early on, all the price stuff starts to go on in the person's mind. This is before you've even sort of gained any trust or started to give them value. The price stuff is happening already before you give value. So the way you position your price is take your lowest and take your highest. Okay, that's how I do it. So my starting price for the academy is £395. So the way I position it is say, so the purpose of the call today is to tell you that the Elite Closing Academy sales training increases sales by 64%, and you can have it for as little as £395 a month. That's how I get through the first 3 straight away. Number 4 is to ask a question that's linked to a problem that's linked to the statement. Let me explain that. So my question would be, so let me ask you a question. When it comes to your sales process, what is your biggest challenge right now? So that would be my problem question, and it's related to my statement. That's the fourth thing. Ask a problem question that's related to your big statement. And finally, you can close a cold call on the first call. So if you hit somebody or make a call on a business that really needs what you do. So in my case, let me give you an example. I will regularly cold call coaches. So we work in the expert space in the UK. One of the areas we work in is experts, so coaches, authors, trainers, consultants, speakers, and many coaches out there right here, right now, do amazing things for people, and they serve people at a really high level, and their biggest challenge is closing. So when I make a cold call to a coach, often I am talking their language straight away. I'm hitting on a pain that they really do need to get more customers. It's a big challenge for them. And you can close. You've positioned your price, you've asked a problem question. Guess what? If when you say, so when it comes to your sales right now, what's your biggest challenge? If they say, oh, conversion, you're now straight into somebody who needs what you do, and you can go into the close. However, I always teach the next step. So the next step could be as simple as you sending them some more information. The next step could be locking down a phone call to speak to them another time. The next step could be to make them a proposal and to put that in writing and then lock down a call back. So the fifth is, what's the next step? When do we speak to each other? What information do you need now? Or, of course, close them. So to recap, the perfect cold call is always set your intention. What is the purpose of your call? Make a huge statement, position your price, ask a problem question that's linked to the big statement or the outcome of you working together, and then always finalise and finish on a next step. Hi, in this video I'm going to cover killer conversational starters in sales. Now, firstly, I want to make this really clear. Depending on how you and your team communicate with people face to face or over the phone, the first thing you must do always is be super clear on what it is you're trying to achieve during that conversation. So let me give you an example. If you're trying to gather information and understand, you must stick to just understanding. So it's called serving. Okay, so if you're just trying to understand, just serve. Please do not flip into sales mode, and more importantly, don't try and close something too early. That's called hard selling, and it feels really uncomfortable. So here's the technique that we use in my academy to get great killer conversations started. And the thing you need is, very simply, a great question. I'm going to give an example. So my prospecting question to somebody that I've just met for the first time, it might be at a networking event, it might be a live event, it could even be a referral or something like that, will always start with this great little word. It will always start with a what. So a question from me to them, and it's always linked to my outcome of understanding them. It's qualifying. So my question will be very much be around, hi, lovely to meet you. I suppose the best question I can ask you right here, right now is, when it comes to your sales process, and more importantly, when it comes to closing more deals, what would you say was your biggest challenge right now? That's the question. It's an absolute killer. Now, the nuance is, depending on where you are, depending on the situation you're in, that question just needs to change slightly. So whenever I'm working with a team, or if I'm at an event on my own, I will sit down and go, what is the killer question that I can ask that starts conversation, that's linked to the outcome of them possibly working with me being the solution to a problem they may or may not have at some point in the future. So really clear, the best way to do this is to ask a what question and link it to the outcome of you possibly working together. Hope that's really clear. I'm really interested. By the way, comment in the box below. Tell me what is your biggest challenge as a team, or what is your biggest challenge right now when it comes to starting conversations in your sales process. So comment in the box below. So many people ask us all the time when they come up to the training centre, how do I prospect and not come across as being pushy? And it is a great question, and I'll be honest, it actually has a very simple answer. Selling is about asking questions, not about telling. To be a great prospector, the first thing you've got to have is a lot of clarity and certainty around what it is that you actually do for people. When you're in service, when you're finding out what people need, that's when you can ask away with as much freedom as you want, really. And we want total freedom when we're selling. You don't want to be sort of in a box or cocooned or feeling like you got to be something you're not. Great sales is about being yourself. It's about asking amazing questions and deciding before making a written proposal whether or not you're a good match, and that's really important. So the way you avoid being pushy is to have certainty around what you do. That's the first thing, so that when you're asking, not telling, when you're asking, which is how you sell, you're prepared to go to places other salespeople won't go. And here's the reason why. If you're a salesperson that tells people and pushes, and you're a little bit classed as hard selling, you will nearly always have to use, as a teller, presumption and assumption, because you never actually find out. You don't ask what they're thinking. You presume to know, or assume that you know what's going on inside, and that's a dangerous place to be. That's actually where rigor mortis lives. If you presume and assume, you're dead. You're dead in the water as a salesperson. So that's when it becomes a problem, where people are assuming and presuming and talking over you. That's where you start to feel they're being pushy and too persistent, and that's where you want to push them away, and you make excuses like, do you know what, I'm interested, but not right now, I'll ring you back tonight, or pop it on an email and we'll speak about it next week, or something like that. That's generally code for back off, leave me alone, it's not for me, here's another one, I'm busy, or I'm not interested. If you're hearing that, then you've got to look at yourself. How much telling were you doing? And critically, how many times did you ask questions? So to be a great prospector, you need 6 words in your life. That's all you need. And they're called 5 W's and 1 H. What, when, how, who, which, and where. When you ask questions that start with those 6 words before a written proposal, when you're selling, you will see an enormous difference in your results. By gathering helpful information, you and your team will be able to decide when to stop selling, make a written proposal, and then transition into closing the deal out. Prospecting is this side of the line: selling, asking, understanding. And those 6 words, what, when, how, who, which, and where, are the words that should begin each question that you ask. Here's the reason why. There's 3 aspects to a human being's brain. Ancient part of the brain, where yes and no lives. When you ask a question that doesn't start with one of those 6, you'll fire up an ancient part of the brain that has yes or no in it. And where yes or no lives, the conversation ends very quickly. Are you interested in having a look at what our products and services could do for you? Yeah, but I'm busy, pop it on an email. If you're hearing that, you're asking bad questions, and you need to ask one of those 6. They fire up logic and emotional aspects in the brain and allow the prospect to answer of their own accord with information that's helpful for you both to decide what should happen next or not at all. Let me give you a couple examples of really powerful questions. What have you seen in my product or service that when implemented in your business would accelerate a result or solve a problem? That's how you sell. That's how you sell before a written proposal, asking a powerful question like that. And you will find that with each one of those 6 words, and you should get a pen and paper out right now and say, how many times are we asking questions where the prospect has to actually go, Great question. Let me have a think about it. How many times do you actually do that? The best way to do it is to rate yourself out of 10. 10 being every time you ask a question in the sales process, you're asking something that starts with a 5W or a H question. And 1 is you're constantly asking leading questions that bring no into play. Are you interested? Would you like to see how this works? If you're asking questions that bring no into play, you're a 1 out of 10. So where are you on the scale? Anything lower than an 8, strongly advise that you write what, when, how, who, which and where. Put it in front of your screen. You'd be amazed at the power it has on results, the impact it has on results. And here's the reason why. When your prospect is choosing, you're in control. That's how you sell. When you're asking powerful questions that they have to think about and answer of their own accord, that's when you're actually controlling the sale. That's really, really, really important. So just remember, if you want to make a difference today, ask questions that start with 5 W's and a H. What, when, how, who, which and where. Stop speaking, listen to the answers, and then you can decide from the information given whether or not you believe that your product or service, whatever it is you sell, would get them an even better result, move them from A to B, solve a problem, and that's when you can stop selling and start closing. If you enjoyed that information about asking powerful questions and not being too pushy when you're prospecting, then make sure you subscribe to this channel and ping the notification bell so that you get all the free training and watch all of the other videos.